Thanks for coming on.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about your band, like the name and what kind of music you guys do, or how you consider it at least?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the vocalist of a band named Reptillian Civilian. We are a five-piece technical deathcore band from Australia, hailing from Brisbane, Queensland. Um, Pretty much the name Reptilian Civilian is based off David Icke's theory of uh, race of primordial shape-shifting reptilians that control humanity from behind the scenes, also known as the Anunnaki. And a few traits of them, well, obviously they're giant reptiles that feed off humanity's misery, and they seek to control us. So that's sort of just a bit of a background behind the whole theme of the band so far. And yeah, I honestly, before I joined the band, I had no idea about any of this stuff, so I had to just jump onto the computer for a few hours, just researching random conspiracy theories that are a bit ridiculous, to
Get yourself on
say
a
the
couple
least.
watch lists as you do it.
Yeah, to say the least. You're not wrong.
Oh, I know when I had to look up the
Uh,
music, I typed in Reptilian Civilian, and all the stuff in the sidebars. Reptiles are among us. Oh, there's reptiles. Check
yeah.
out how Obama here is a reptile. Like, oh, okay, well, there's my YouTube for the next week.
Yeah. The band and well, we sort of take on the persona of Reptilian Overlords. So when we're posting online and stuff, we put on this persona, calling our fan base our little lizards and this and that, and it's just it's pretty funny.
How would you
Yeah.
how would you describe the sound, or what genre would you put would you put your band in?
Well, currently with our current music, that's out in our band camp at the moment. Um, I would say that is just I don't know. It's fucking heavy. That's pretty much the best way I can put it. It's very technical. There's lots of in insane drums. Like our drummer Caleb, before our first set, he broke a pair of drumsticks and had to buy new ones
Jesus.
at practice. He goes hard, and our guitarists, Oscar and Jed, they off tap. They play better drunk, believe it or not. I think that might just be an Australian trait. I have no idea. um, and the vocalist at the time, Connor, yeah, I replaced him probably about 4 or 5 months ago. Pretty much like just he didn't seem very keen for the band, and he was having beef with the among the band members, and it was over petty stuff, and so they're just like, well, if you're not serious about it, then we'll just find someone else. And then he didn't really want to take on the fact that he was getting kicked out, so he was just like, no, I'm leaving first. And
You can't fire me. I quit.
yeah, is yeah, basically exactly that. And and a few other like the boys told me a few other points that bothered me a bit. When they were writing the EP, the previous vocalist had actually written the lyrics on the day of recording, which is pretty ill prepared. And so unfortunately, our EP's lyrics are pretty basic, and don't really have any um
Don't have much
I don't
depth
know,
to them.
like
Just very surface level.
yeah, that's
Something that
it.
sounds good.
Like pretty yeah. It's I would show the lyrics, but I don't know how to. This is a podcast, but
It's
it's all like
alright.
a lot of it's repetitive at times.
I mean, to your benefit, most people can't understand the lyrics anyways, so
That is very true.
it's good
Especially
mind melting music.
he wasn't too good at pronunciation either, which didn't help his case much. which also made it very hard for me to learn the EP.
That's a bit of a problem.
Because yeah, when I'd first joined the band, I had like pretty much went and hung out with them, and then they were like, "Oh, we have a gig next week," and I was just like, "What the fuck?" That just sort of got dropped on me out of nowhere. I haven't learnt the lyrics or anything, so I just started freaking out a bit. But oh, and trying to put the actual like figuring out what he says, because a lot of it is just noises, and like they some of the band members told me that he even forgot the lyrics to he forgot the lyrics while playing live sets, so half the time he would just make their noises or just make noises that sounded like what he had originally done. Like there's so many other things that it's just like why.
To be fair to him, though,
And
there's a lot of singers that they forget the lyrics up on stage, and they kind of rely on the audience
oh
to
yeah,
let them know where they're going.
yeah, that's fair enough. Like I mean, doing that for a line or two, or maybe even a phrase, isn't that bad. But
If you forget an entire
like
song, you're kind of fucked.
consistently, yeah, more like if you start doing it on like a fairly consistent rate throughout the set, people who know the music fairly well will actually start to pick up on that. They're like, what the fuck? These guys are shit live.
Yeah, it's always good to have a good live presence when you're performing.
Oh yeah, definitely. My first gig was I played my last gig the weekend that just passed, and the crowd was pretty shit. Like it wasn't shit. Like the people that were there were like seemed to be digging us. We fucking got a good reaction from them, but it was just like a local show, and there was other bigger bands playing elsewhere nearby, so that also would have impacted the amount of people that would have kept the turnout of the show. And but no, I had a ball playing. That's all that matters, really.
I mean, as long as you're enjoying yourself, you want to entertain the fans, but at the same time, if you're up there and you're not liking what you're doing, it's like with anything, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's just like, why waste your time when doing something you don't exactly feel keen to do, when I'm sure there's someone out there who would be very keen to do exactly what you're doing. So that's exactly what happened to me with the last vocalist. Like I've been looking for, well, before I joined Repsy, I was looking for a band for about 2 3 years, and I had been through two failed band formation attempts. Like I pretty much got all the members I needed, but just nothing came out of it. We couldn't like really figure out times where we could all get together, like among everyone's schedules, daily schedules, and yeah, just nothing came from them. And out of nowhere, my mate messaged me about Repsy looking for a new vocalist, and I hadn't even heard of the guys beforehand. So I checked them out. And I jumped straight on it, straight into their DMs, and I was like, "Yo, hit us up." And
Well, I
apparently,
did
I
like the sound of
competed
funny
with a
going.
few other um, applicants, but I apparently just shat on them all. So that was pretty good.
So we've heard the previous the previous vocalist's sound. Uh, Obviously, your voice is it's like mine. It's a lot higher tenor than the other guys. So how much what what sort of vocals do you bring to it? Is it different? Is the sound different? Do you try to replicate the other guy, and just what do you bring to the
um,
table with them?
he primarily used about two or three different tones. Like he had his highs, which were pretty monotonal. For me, my specialty is my high range, like the high screeches and everything, and I can do two or three different techniques for my high range alone that differentiate the sound a bit, and that's just for my high range alone. And then his deeps, his deeps were um, just again he lacked pronunciation. He could have had a bit more power, like projection from his diaphragm to give it that bit more of a push. But what I'm bringing on the table, I've been practicing vocals for not as long as people might think. Actually, like I've been told by some fairly big name vocalists that they've been doing it for 10 years, and they're actually like baffled at how progressed I am at this point. Like I'm on my third year in, I think, like of doing them correctly. Um, and yeah, what I intend to bring to the table in the future with future EP is 300 BPM vocals. So like the speed vocal stuff. That's like something that I've always wanted to work to do. I've always wanted to like. If you've ever heard of a band called Shadow of Intent, they're currently my favorite band. They're all about Halo and whatnot.
All right.
And Ben Dewar, he is an absolute monster of a vocalist. Like he in a particular song, I think it's called The Return. He manages to do 300 BPM vocals. He even uploaded a video onto his Facebook showing him recording it in one take, and it is mind blowing. Like, and pretty much when I see that, I sort of get a grudge, and I make it my goal to get better. I have to surpass him, otherwise I just won't be content per se.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's always good to have goals to always. You can always improve yourself. There is no, I'm here. This is a good place to stay. Even even the greats, the legends, they always try to improve in themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see it as like just being straight up better than everyone. I've practiced, like I've worked on my vocals for like I put more time into it than a lot of other people. It's just other people are at stages that with their vocals, and like I'm more than happy to share my experiences to bring them, like help them progress forward with their vocals. Like that's what makes the metal scene a bit toxic. It's just everyone is like so like among the metal scene they tend to judge each other a lot, and well, particularly in the Brisbane scene over here, at least, people can be quite toxic and yes, like just downing on each other, and
Right, I've seen that a
yeah,
lot of
I just don't
places.
see the point in it.
You get a lot of familial love when you go to shows and like when you go to metal shows, but it's outside of those metal shows, you get people talking about like if I showed some of my friends Reptilian Civilian, they'd probably call me a faggot and tell me to kill myself and say it's not real music. And then they'd go and say, Megadeth is the heaviest shit out there that's real music, and I would tell them like, come on, guys, like I've listened to
Yeah,
everything to Swedish black metal.
Yeah, but that's where things get so tedious. Like individuality, a music taste is always subjective. Like it's pretty rare to come across someone who has the exact same music taste as you, because I mean they're gonna like other genres that you probably won't per se, and all music is shit and all music is good. In other words,
Yeah, it's very it's all about opinions, and you know what they say about opinions.
yeah,
Everyone's got one.
that's it, and there's no way you can really change them. But at the same time, they're like mainstream radio kind of music per se. Some of it's all right, then a lot of it's just repeated so much, and I just can't get into it whatsoever. I can't even really vibe to it, and yeah, it just downs me if anything.
Uh,
So
so
shit.
so what would you say are some of your influences, band wise and vocal wise?
Well, there we've got a bit of an influence from our band itself so far. Um, let me. I had a list sort of here that I got a bit of an opinion from the rest of the bandmates about this question actually.
All right,
Um, and then I'll give you my personal influences on my vocal.
sounds good.
So for the band, the guitarist, like the influences on the guitarists, Slipknot, Bring Me the Horizon, Parkway Drive, Suicide Silence, Carnifex, uh, Viator's Murder, Infinite Annihilator, Rings of Saturn. They're just like a few that come to mind, and things like Lorna Shore, just the technicality and insane riffs and mind crushing blast beats and whatnot. um, And then there's not particular bands influence my vocals, but vocalists I can mention, and then I'll mention the band names. My top two most influential vocalists that like I aspire from the most would be Ben Dewar from, as mentioned before, Shadow of Intent. I was mentioning his speed vocals and whatnot, and he's just got this depth that fucking your anus isn't ready for it. I'll tell you that much. And he's just got mind blowing deeps. His highs are fucking also pretty like goddamn son. And the second vocalist is Reese Peters. He's an Australian vocalist, ex-vocalist of A Night in Texas, and he's got a new project called The Senate, and he's released a couple of songs now, and it's all about Star Wars and whatnot, and it is mind-crushing. Like, I'll chuck you a link if you want to chuck it to viewers if any of them like their metal. It's definitely worth the check out. And I digress. So Reese is a good mate of mine. He pretty much helped me progress my high vocals to where they are at the moment. He pulled me aside like pretty much 3 years ago at a show and told me a bunch of tips with like high range and whatnot and how to do it. But at the time I was doing it incorrectly and I had no idea what he was really talking about or how to do that. But as I corrected my technique and whatnot, pretty much I remembered back to that and those tips he gave me, and everything sort of just clicked. It all happened so quickly, and then next thing I know, I have massive like highs, per se, screeching, ear bleeding, and Reese is also like definitely one of the best high vocalists in the game. Like he's very diverse with he's so diverse with all of his ranges, deep, high, and his his lyricism, I think that's the word, maybe. I'm a bit cooked right now, forgive me. Is just off tap. Like, there's 3 factors to vocals that really get me going about it. The lyrics is a big one for me. Plain lyrics bother me a lot, or just boring lyrics pisses me off. It can't be monotone. I hate monotonal vocals. Like, that's why I was never able to get into bands, for example, like Parkway Drive, just because they've sort of got that very like consistent sort of tone throughout the whole. And I prefer diversity. Like, I want to learn all the vocal sounds. Like, I've even learned like sort of the black metal kind of, the talking. I don't know if I want to do it right now because the audio probably wouldn't be too great. Just everything. I just wanted to know how to do pretty much everything with my vocals. And so those are my top 2 influential vocalists to me. And there's a few others, like honorable mentions, like Luke Griffin for Pig Squeals, Duncan Bentley for Gutturals. Fuck, the name slipped me. Give me a moment. Tom Salazar, no, Tom Barber from, forgive me, Tom Barber from Lorna Shore. He is just lyrics and just insane. But yeah, those are the rough influences on myself and my band. Sorry if I babbled a bit.
Oh no, that's alright. It's all about you. That's the whole point of an interview.
Touche.
So, we know the vocal influences you had and where you got your sound from, but what sort of music did you listen to growing up that got you to this point?
Oh god, I reckon you'll even remember some of the music I used to listen to back in the day. And
I know personally some of the music, but for the record.
It's gonna pain my soul to say.
That's why I'm making you answer it.
Okay, so I'll go right to the start. Pretty much, I started off on bands like Linkin Park, Green Day. Went to Bullet for My Valentine. Forgive me. And then pretty much, I discovered Bullet for My Valentine of the game I used to play back in the day. I think it was Need for Speed Most Wanted. the old one, and yeah, I've just from there I just started progressing into more heavier things. Um, my first, I had a huge scene like when I hit about year 8 in high school. I hit my scene kid stage, my lowest point, the dog days, the emu days. Um, your basic generic scene kid bands like Asking Alexandria, Bring Me the Horizon. There's a few others. Those were the primary two, and just sort of metalcore with singing. At the start, I liked clean singing more than I did vocals, but as time passed, those two roles sort of swapped with each other, and soon enough, I was getting to the point where I didn't want any clean singing in the music I listened to at all. So from there, like as I progressed through high school, towards the end of high school, I was starting to get into genres like I pretty much had started to disregard all the scene kid bands, and I was starting to listen to things like Thy Artist Murder, Arcrania. It's been a while. What else did I listen to? Version's Crown, A Night in Texas, um, Make Them Suffer, Slipknot, God help me, Attila. Avenged Sevenfold, I also loved them in high school. Um, yeah, so that was my high school stage, and then coming closer to present, nowadays well, the music that sort of influences my writing is bands like Lorna Shore. It's like very, I love, my preference in metal is technical. Like I even love symphonics in like symphonics and deathcore or metal per se. It does not specifically deathcore, just metal. Go together like cigarettes and coffee or cigarettes and drinking. They just fucking complement each other really well, in my opinion. And so that's another thing that's going to be coming in future. Symphonics. Get keen, boy. Um, yeah, so pretty much extreme metal, slam, been getting into a bit of black metal and like sort of OG death metal lately. Um, and yeah, that's all I can really list off the top of my head at the moment before I start stalling too much.
It's quite a list. So,
Yeah, not too bad.
so what does a metal vocalist in the middle of Brisbane do for fun?
Well,
Tell us a bit
correction.
about
I'm
yourself.
I'm from the Sunshine Coast. Yeah, yeah. I'm from the Sunshine Coast, and my bandmates live in Brisbane, so they're quite lucky. They've got all the good nightclubs. They're close to everything good. Whereas Sunshine Coast is about an hour north, hour and a half, maybe two, depending on what transport you take. Um, Up here, there's fuck all to do. There's only like one or two clubs that anyone goes to, and it's too fucking hot to do anything at the moment because we're starting to get towards summer. And y'all know about Australian summers, cunts fucked. So fun nowadays. I didn't really answer your question. Do I even have fun? I just uh, relax, listen to music, write music, do vocals, play video games, get lit, get drunk. Yeah, and just getting fucked up. Really, that's when I'm not working.
Sounds like
Pretty pretty basic. What
uh,
can I say?
I mean, what can you expect when about 90% of your country is empty?
Yeah, basically. Fuck
Yeah.
living in an overpopulated place because I hate Brisbane. Like I hate driving around Brisbane. It is the most stressful thing you'll ever do. Or just driving around big cities in general is pretty fucked. Like traffic and parking,
If you had to
and especially
compare,
when you
go
kind of.
ahead.
Oh, sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna ask if you had to compare Brisbane to a city that stereotypically is really bad. What would you probably compare it to?
Well, I think it would be an over exaggeration, but New York or some shit. But obviously, Brisbane isn't anywhere near this to the scale of New York, but it's what it feels like, especially if you haven't been to a city to that size. Uh, but yeah. Realistically, I don't know. I don't know. I can't really think of any cities that would be comparable to Brisbane because Brisbane is big, but it's not like American big per se.
So I did have some questions earlier from the chat when I was letting everybody know that you're going to be coming on.
Awesome.
Some of these may be a little more silly to answer, but
Oh,
feel free
I'm all about the banner.
feel free
Throw
to
some
skip
silly
them.
questions at us. There.
All right. The first one was, will you fight a spider live on the interview?
Fucking knows. If I can find the cunt right now, all I'd have to do is walk like 5 meters, and I'll probably find one of the bastards. Because
Are we
if you
talking
know
small spider?
Australia, you'll know about all of our fucking stereotypes of spiders and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I know all about the dinner plate spider.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the one thing
I
keeping me away.
despise spiders. I'm Australian and I can't fucking stand the fuckers. I will take a can of aerosol and a lighter to the fucker. I will burn down the house to kill a spider.
Um, have you heard the legend
That's
of
just
Count Dankula?
Count Dankula.
Yeah.
You're speaking to him, son.
Oh shit, it's an honor.
Oh shit, son.
A question from somebody in Britain. Uh, how did you lose your virginity?
How did I lose my virginity? Oh, fuck, man. I
Without too
lost
much
my
detail.
virginity to my best mate's sister. Yeah, don't drink, kids.
Have you heard the song Limbo of the Lost Epic Ending?
Limbo of the Lost epic ending. I cannot say I have.
You haven't heard the epic ending of Limbo of the Lost?
No, I have not. Call me uncultured swine. Do
Uh,
what you will.
it's essentially a really bad video game that has a
Ah,
silly ending. It's a bit long, but
just link it to me. I'll have a gander later. Interesting.
yeah, I was told that was the anthem of Australia, and that you should listen to it.
I thought our fucking national anthem was about kangaroos and shit.
Well, you know, the kangaroo overlords, they on a win.
Yeah, yeah. Can't forget them. Can't anger them.
Nope.
I'll get
Uh,
50 lashings.
who would win? A spider, a kangaroo, or a dingo in a fight to the death?
A spider, a kangaroo, or a dingo to a fight to the death.
Yeah, who would win?
Well, we gotta take our fucking options into consideration here. Don't ever fuck with a kangaroo and their feet. You will break ribs. Most likely your own. um, so I reckon the kangaroo would be able to defend itself somewhat against a dingo, unless the dingo had like a couple of its mates to take it down. But among the fray, the spider would no doubt get fucked up. So I would say the kangaroo overlords win as always. The world's next. Prepare yourselves.
So it's a good answer.
North Korea ain't got shit on us.
Well, I mean, they Australia did want to attach machine guns to emus because they lost a war against them.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up in Wikipedia, there's actually such thing as called the Great Emu War.
Oh, yeah, it's an interesting read.
It was. I didn't even know about it until someone shit posting about Australia mentioned it. I was like, oh, true. What is this fucking history class?
How does kangaroo pussy feel?
Delightful.
It's a a lot more to the point than I was expecting. It's
I just don't know how else I can answer that.
I think that's all the questions that I had.
What's cracking?
Oh, not much, man. Not much. You excited for Shadow of Intense first show in December?
I would if I could go to it. Oh, bro, I am so jealous. I am so jealous of anyone who goes see them play because I'm stuck over here in that shit nowhere, unable to see my favorite band play.
Yeah,
Or favorite current band.
yeah, that's quite the album they put out. Reclaimer, I think it was. Yeah, Reclaimer.
Yeah, Reclaimer. Their first album, Primordial, was also definitely like pretty close to on par with it. Like that was the album that got them like up in the spotlight, and hopefully they keep absolutely crushing things.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they have that. They're already starting work on their third album.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I was dampened.
Oh yeah, well, let's see. I saw Chris. I actually talked with Chris a couple months ago. They were touring with his other band, Currents, was
Yeah.
touring with Miss May I, and I actually got to talk to him, and he said, yeah, they're apparently going for a more epic feeling sound for this next one.
Oh, I thought they already pulled that off with the last two, to be honest. But if they think they can keep doing it, like keep doing it, my dudes. Just keep taking it to the next level. That's what I say.
Oh,
It's always good to see like how you can push the boundaries and see push yourself to the limits. Keen to hear what comes from them.
So with the new stuff, is it going to be more slam influenced than the stuff that's already put out, or?
Yeah, for some songs, I reckon for like some songs would have more influences towards slam like than others per se. Like some songs will be more like slam orientated with gutturals, pig squeals and whatnot, and like the very sort of the chuggy feel to slam. And then other songs will be very like sweet picking riffs and not so slam like, you know. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be kind of a bit.
yeah. I mean, I'll admit I prefer like the more slam influenced stuff and not like full on slam, because
Yeah, yeah,
at
like
least to me, like full on slam is just like the same fucking breakdown that they play in 2007 for all like the deathcore bands with
yeah.
even more unintelligible lyrics.
Yeah, I agree there. Like I do like slam. Like I just don't listen to it like actively, like as much as what I would do with my normal bands and whatnot. But I definitely do agree there. It like as I mentioned the monotonal, like the whole monotonal topic before, it sort of just gets like that with the very. It all sounds pretty similar, but um yeah, like things like slamming deathcore, Signs of the Swarm.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
they combine it pretty well, I think.
Oh, the new album's great. Someone had it on YouTube for a week, a month ago.
Oh, they fucking leaked it and I didn't see it. Shit.
It's
But
it's
that was,
still it's still out there.
oh, true. I'll have a gander in
Uh,
a bit after the interview.
Hold on a second.
I need to
Don't
bless my ears with that.
don't illegally download music, kids.
No, do not do that. Support your bands, support your local music, support your local scene.
All that
Don't
other
dog the
good
boys.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
have you guys toured with any of the bigger Australian bands yet, or?
No, we're still pretty a fairly small scale band. Like we got 6,000 followers on fucking Instagram and only 700 likes roughly on 750 likes on Facebook. I only joined about 4 months ago. I've played 2 shows with them, which has all been in Brisbane. Um, I don't think the boys have toured outside of Queensland yet, but we're hoping to get to that point soon. I tried to get on a tour with a night in Texas, but we should get a bit more experience with touring Queensland or like before going interstate and just sort of getting a feel for things before making the big leap.
Hmm.
Just sort of get used to traveling a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So are you actually friends with Reese Peters? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw Reese had a new band. The stuff's pretty good.
What do you think of the standard actually?
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm looking forward to that album they're putting out Wednesday.
Yeah, I've been following that pretty closely, and from the first song I heard from them, I was just mind blown. Yeah, Reese did a very good job at mixing it up with the techniques. He's still got his absolutely insane and clean toned highs, like you're just crisp, and he's got Beelzebub's vocal cords himself, and it's insane.
Yeah, it was sad to see that he only got to put out one song with Semper Fi.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer actually. I was keen to hear more more with recent Semper Fi, but yeah, no, these things happen. But I'm just glad that Reese is back in the game and he's released like he's gonna be slaying the game again, literally.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the chat though, man.
Oh, no problem, man. If you want to plug anything, this is going to be edited down, so like all the big pauses and all that. So if you want to plug anything, now's the time, and then you can give me all the links, and I can put it in the video description for it.
So plug as in just say
Like your band's Instagram, your band's Facebook, your band's YouTube, anything you want to plug personally, stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. So follow us on Instagram, Reptillian Civilian, no spaces. Facebook name, like us on Facebook. Liking on Facebook is pretty crap right now. Reptillian Civilian, as always. Same with YouTube, and yes, we're a pretty active band now. Like always trying to post content when we can, or playthroughs and memery. Our Instagram has quite a bit of banner on it. If you're interested in that, good stuff.
So I take it your next EP has no expected release?
No, we haven't come up with a ETA yet. We don't want to limit ourselves with a deadline just yet because we're still pretty early stages with it.
Makes sense. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Sam, lead vocalist of Reptillian Civilian. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And yeah, remember, go check them out, support your local bands, and make sure you buy everything that says Reptillian Civilian on it.
That's it. Thanks for the support.